What's the update on Vince McMahon? Well, he's selling off all of his TKO stock. Now, I'm just kind of wondering, man, because he's going to be sitting on how much liquid cash? Oh, we know what he kind of likes to do with liquid, but Janel, you stay over there for right now, okay? We'll get to you when we need to get to you. But what's he doing with all of that stuff? And also knowing that he's, got nothing but time left on his hands, and he's going to be fighting this lawsuit tooth and nail. What's Vince up to? Okay, so former WWE Chairman Vince McMahon to sever financial ties with wrestling promotion, the one that he bought from his father, the one that he took international, the one that had he not made all of those moves, we wouldn't have professional wrestling the way that we have it right now. Obviously, somebody would have went beyond the confines of the simple territory business. Vince just happened to be the first, but he did it. That's the world that we live in, like it or not, okay? Without Vince, we don't have wrestling. Which, taking a look at today's landscape, may or may not be the worst thing in the world, and hell. Also, taking a look at the ratings of the two major companies, does it really look like anybody cares at this point in time who's running the show? There's like 6 people watching. No, the Fed's fine. AEW's the only one that's going underwater. Okay. Vince McMahon will end his 50-year association with WWE. Why aren't you just, appropriately framing this? This is the first time in the history of the company, dating all the way back to when it was Capital Wrestling. There isn't a McMahon that is a majority shareholder. Back when it was Kennedy McMahon, then when it was his father, Vince J, and Vinnie Mac took over, taking it, worldwide, making WWE a gold standard, okay? No, we're not talking about Shelton Benjamin, but it's kind of wild to see that this is the case and this is the situation that we're finding ourselves in, and especially weird given the context of these decisions being made, and there's just so much funny business going on here. Yes, on Friday, TKO filed a prospectus detailing that McMahon would be selling up to 8.02 million shares he holds with the company, which were worth £77.48 a piece, around a 620 million pounds in total. And yeah, just last month or something like that, he sold off 400 or some million dollar. Yeah, I think he's basically like got $1 billion liquid, which is absolutely ridiculous. So what's he going to be doing with that? So McMahon, has worked for WWE since the 1960s. Is this written by an AI or somebody who has no idea what wrestling is all about? Yeah, he's worked with them since the 1960s. No. Yeah, before eventually buying the company from his father and transforming it into the sports entertainment brand and the biggest name in professional wrestling, whilst making him a billionaire along the way. And then he was a multi-millionaire for a second, and then once the network did take off, then he became a billionaire once again. In 2022, briefly retired following allegations of misconduct, and then TKO took over, stopped paying the NDA to Janel Grant, and then she went public, and then all of a sudden TKO could buy back all the shares that were afforded to Vince so that they could ultimately be the decision makers. Very strange with all of that stuff, right? However, in January, the 78-year-old was forced to resign following allegations of trafficking, which he has denied since his departure. McMahon's son-in-law, Paul, I can't feel my legs. Triple H, yes, has taken over the creative reins of the company, has been credited with the recent boom for the company. Yeah, real boom for the company, huh? Again, look at the ratings. The fact that Raw is all the way back to its, 1.8 opening and 1.5 third hour. Yeah, really doing great stuff. Really big stuff. Oh, but big competition, guys. Don't worry about that. Business is booming. We've got to cut back on pyro and stage aesthetics in order to, just meet budgets. Business has never been any better. Unbelievable. WWE's has seen consecutive sellout shows for both their live events across the U.S. and during last week's UK tour, as well as the flagship TV productions of Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, and when you're giving away tickets in order to fill up a stadium, in order to just crank out another fake attendance record, hey man, it all sounds fantastic. Well, earlier this month, they shattered revenue records for WrestleMania 40, making it the biggest and highest grossing WrestleMania in history. Yeah, the third year, it's a 2-day event. You cranked up the prices, and it's WrestleMania at the end of the day, okay? It's one of the biggest brands, one of the biggest names in all of sport. Yeah, okay, cool. You did good business. Does anybody remember the show now 2 weeks on? Cody Rhodes finished the story. Yeah, and now he has the big title, and he's not drawing numbers. Big fucking shock. But McMahon, meanwhile, is facing a lawsuit. after former WWE employee, his former squeeze, Janel Grant, accused the billionaire of doing a bunch of different things, including giving her the old brown crown, passing her around with the boys, and her going along with it until she ended up getting caught and found out that she was in a relationship with somebody who was very publicly and very known to be married, was no longer securing a bag anymore, and then just decided to go public with everything in a civil lawsuit because she's making very lofty accusations that she was made to do stuff against her will, but then doesn't want to take those accusations to the police. Oh, okay, right. No, believe all women, right? It's not like women ever lie. Grant also claimed she suffered bruising and bleeding after McMahon did a bunch of terrible, unspeakable things that I can't even keep straight or provide evidence for, but trust me guys, it really did happen. The allegations led to McMahon's departure, but his daughter Stephanie, who at the time Vince came back after his self-imposed retirement in 2022 after he had to force himself back on the board, Stephanie left the company, and now that her father has been more vocal about leaving for good this time, then she miraculously makes a comeback. And Nick Khan, who has also been outed as being one of the nameless executives, again, just a bunch of people that ended up getting caught up in this lawsuit that didn't have actual names provided, but then later, once all the heat started to dissipate from the lawsuit, then Janel Grant's legal team decided to leak out a couple other names in order to pressure more people, in order to get to a quick settlement. But now that Vince has all of this money just waiting to go to trial, kind of makes a lot of sense that he's hiring a PR firm that has worked with a lot of people who have found themselves in similar situations, that are experts and getting to the bottom of things. Oh boy, it almost looks like a 78-year-old man who is known to hold a grudge with literally everybody is going to be fighting this to the bitter end. Strange. Earlier this week, Vince McMahon's legal team released a comprehensive 29-page court filing that robustly refuted the allegations made by former WWE employee Janel Grant. We might have to go through that at a later date, but for right now, here are the broad strokes. No, that's not a move that Vince allegedly performed on Janel. The statement categorically denied Grant's allegations and underscored that her claims were baseless and driven by a desire for publicity. Wow, shocking, right? 78-year-old McMahon, ex-chairman of the Fed, was recently enlisted the services of Stricken and Company, a PR firm led by Michael Strick, a highly respected figure in the field of public relations, renowned for his crisis management expertise. The firm's representation of McMahon underscores its commitment to rebuilding reputations and uncovering the truth. Oh, we don't want to get to that. We just wanted a quick settlement. God damn it. Strick and Company have a proven track record representing a diverse clientele, including prominent names such as Kobe Bryant. Oh, wow. Somebody who found themselves in the exact same situation. One of the very first people to find themselves in a Me Too-alike situation at such a high profile. And what ended up coming out of that? Oh, right. The bitch in Denver was lying. Pepsi and the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Now, obviously, the reason that Vince would probably have an in with this crew right here, I don't know anything about what they would do for Pepsi. Probably after that terrible, what was that, Kendall Jenner gimmick that they ran in late 2019, where it's just instead of protesting, just have a Pepsi. But the Fed used to do and still does a lot of work with, the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that they would have a passing association through there. But McMahon's legal motion filed on Tuesday vehemently opposes the allegations laid out in Janel Grant's lawsuit against McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and the Fed. It asserted that the allegations would be disproven and Grant's falsehoods would be exposed. McMahon's legal team staunchly defends their client, which they have every right to, refuting Grant's claims and reiterated the intended purpose of the allegation. In response, which is absolutely hilarious, Janel Grant filed a motion to strike the legal action? It's like, wait, what? Okay, so McMahon has a right to respond to the lawsuit, okay? Because the lawsuit obviously was filed just a couple of days after the announcement of the big Netflix deal for Monday or whatever night they want to put Raw on moving forward. Again, just very funny timing on that one. And then, yes, the weekend before the Royal Rumble, the second biggest weekend on the Fed's calendar. It has nothing to do with just simply getting publicity. It has everything to do with getting to the bottom of this and seeking accountability from people. Oh, this is the way that lawsuits go. You file yours, and then the defendant gets to file their response. Like, you can't take umbrage with that. Like, what are you doing? But Janel Grant files a motion to strike Vince McMahon's preliminary statement that he's innocent, that something that he has the right to under the United States Constitution. Oh, but no, this is a woman, and she feels bad, so therefore the law doesn't matter. Vince McMahon and his lawyers on April 23rd filed a motion in Janel Grant's lawsuit against him, seeking to go to private arbitration. Yeah, see? McMahon also denied Grant's claims. Grant previously alleged that McMahon engaged in assault and trafficking of her. Grant's response filing on April 24th the motion to strike McMahon's preliminary statement, which called Grant's complaints salacious, false, and defamatory. Well, hey man, as somebody who's been following this story very closely, if the court, for whatever reason, wants to strike those as salacious, false, and defamatory, well, I'm just going to go ahead and continue to say it, and targeted her credibility. Well, the credibility of a perpetually out-of-work 40-year-old who continues to push around the narrative that, oh yeah, this is the most up-to-date picture of me, even though she's in her 40s, for God's sakes, and that is a picture from a very long time ago. In the filing, Grant's team wrote, and instead of using his motion in an appropriate manner. No, if it was inappropriate for this venue, they wouldn't have accepted it. Okay, like that's the way stuff goes. To raise legal arguments concerning whether this dispute must be submitted to arbitration, McMahon instead used the motion preliminary statement as a platform to launch vicious falsehoods and attacking Janel's moral character in a transparent attempt to harass and intimidate her into submission. Hilarious. What did you also do with nameless executives A, B, C, and D, and a former UFC heavyweight champion that the company was trying to court in 2021? Was somebody else also trying to impugn moral characters and also trying to harass and intimidate other people in order to get to a swift decision, a swift settlement offer? Yeah, okay. Yet even if McMahon's falsities concerning Janel's private life were true, they are not. These statements have no bearing on the merits of Janel's claims, let alone motion. McMahon's statements have no place in the motion, which should be concerned solely with whether his dispute must be submitted to arbitration. Oh, shut up. Do you know why I hate wrestling journalists? Okay, that might seem like a hard transition, but it's all going to make sense, okay? Because you don't hear anybody talking to any of Vince McMahon's legal counsel. All you see are interviews with Janel's legal teams, and the best that they do is just simply take the statements. They don't bother digging any deeper into what Vince's team's doing. No. It's just listen and believe. The women are going to save the industry. You bunch of simps. You make me sick. But yes, post-wrestling shared a statement from Vince McMahon's lawyer, Jessica T. Rosenberg, who responded to Grant's motion to strike. Plaintiff had no right to bring this case in the public court the way that she did. Now she chose this public forum to falsely accuse Mr. McMahon. She wants to silence his ability to respond. She can't have it both ways. Yep, totally makes sense. So I really do hope that this goes to public court. Not too sure the venue that this would be in. I'd have to go back to the original motion. I know it was filed in Fed court, so regardless of where the venue is going to be, there's not going to be any televised or publicly recorded information if it does in fact go to trial. And if it goes to private arbitration, well, that's pretty much the end of it. The best that we'll get at the end of this is that, both sides have come to an agreement, and that's going to be the end of this stuff. And then Vince just does whatever he does for a minute until he tries to crack his way back into the Fed, because, as long as Vince McMahon draws breath, he's going to want to be involved in the wrestling business one way or another, which is obviously going to make for interesting fallout when it comes to this stuff. And then when TKO realizes that the other half of their business is doing a lion's share of the work. Meanwhile, this antiquated circus analogy of the Fed as a business model that's dying on the vine. Hey guys, there's blood and swearing and The Rock's back. It's going to be great. Yeah, sure, whatever. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.